Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive. If you're listening to this right now, I'm going to make a pretty wild guess about your current situation.
Oh, let me guess. You're probably surrounded by a literal fortress of highlighted textbooks
Yeah, exactly. And there's likely an empty energy drink can or, maybe three sitting right there on your desk.
because you are staring down the barrel of that high school cybersecurity certification exam.
The midterm panic?
It's a completely universal experience.
Yeah.
I mean, we have absolutely all been there.
We really have. And look, we know the pressure is on right now. There's just so much material to memorize. So we're going to try and make this specific study session a little less painful, a little more practical, and hopefully it will actually stick in your brain.
Exactly. We aren't just going to sit here and read definitions at you. Today, we're doing a dedicated breakdown of that web server security unit that, well, it always seems to trip people up.
Right. Specifically, we are walking through the slide deck titled web_server_security.pdf.
Think of this as basically the director's commentary track for that PDF. If you have the deck, pull it up on your screen.
But if you're driving or out walking the dog, don't worry, just visualize it with us. We're going to build the scaffolding you need so that when you finally sit down for that exam, the answers just naturally pop into your head.
Our mission today is pretty straightforward. This slide deck, it really tells a story. It's a story about a digital fortress, which is the web server, and the constant war between the people trying to break into it and the people trying to keep them out.
So we need to understand the machinery, the attack vectors, and the defenses.
Right.
So let's clear the desk, take a deep breath, and let's get started by looking at slide 1.
Okay, so this is our title slide. Web server hacking, attacks, and countermeasures. And right away, the imagery sets the entire tone. You have that big castle sitting right in the center.
And that is your web server.
Exactly. On the left, you see the red team attacking, and on the right, you've got the blue team defending.
It feels a little dramatic, doesn't it? Like a scene from a fantasy movie or something. But the castle analogy is actually perfect for a very specific reason.
It really is. Think about, say, a database server or a highly sensitive file server at a major company. You can hide those down in the basement.
Right, you can just bury them in a vault somewhere.
Yeah, put them behind 10 locked doors, disconnect them from the internet entirely if you really want to. But you absolutely cannot do that with a web server.
No, because a web server's entire job is to be found.
Right. It has to be standing out in the open with the drawbridge completely down, just inviting people to come inside.
Because if you build a massive wall around your web server, well, nobody can visit your website, and you essentially go out of business.
Precisely.
Mm.
And that is why this unit is so critically important for your exam. The web server is the most visible target on the entire network. It is an active battlefield simply because it has to be accessible.
You're inviting the world to your front door, which unfortunately means you are inviting the attackers to. So let's talk about the actual structure of this castle. Moving on to slide 2.
Here we have the anatomy of the target. We are comparing the two absolute giants of web server technology here. And I cannot stress this enough. You basically cannot pass this certification without knowing the difference between these two specific logos.
Okay, so on the left side, we have Microsoft ISIS, and on the right, we have Apache. Let's start with the left.
Right. Microsoft ISO, that stands for Internet Information Services.
The graphic here, it kind of looks like a sleek glass and steel corporate skyscraper.
That is the perfect mental image to hold on to. ISIS is a corporate product, it is proprietary, and it is closed source. It is built by Microsoft, specifically designed to run on the Windows ecosystem.
So it's like a fancy office building where you need a very specific key card, which is Windows, just to get in. You can't just open the walls and see how the elevators work. You kind of have to trust the landlord.
That's exactly it. It is a absolute powerhouse of a server. It supports HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, SMTP, but it's a black box. You cannot see the underlying source code.
Okay, got it. Now let's look at the other side. The Apache HTTP server. This one feels a bit different.
Apache is the rebel alliance in this story. The major key takeaway here, and this is almost certainly going to be a quiz question, is that Apache is open source.
Open source, meaning literally anyone can look at the blueprints.
Anyone. It originally started on Unix, but because it's open source, the global community has adapted it to run on almost anything.
Yeah.
Linux, Windows, Mac. And here is the second major quiz point you need to know.
Which is?
Apache is currently the most widely used web server technology in the entire world.
Okay, I like the analogy we're using in prep for this. If I size the corporate skyscraper, Apache is almost like this massive modular scaffolding.
Yes, exactly. It's entirely community built. You can set it up pretty much anywhere. And because thousands of developers are constantly staring at the steel beams, the code itself bugs get found and fixed by the community really quickly.
But wait, doesn't that transparency mean the bad guys also have the exact same blueprints?
It does. That is the classic double-edged sword of open source. But for your exam, just lock this association in your brain. IC is Microsoft and proprietary. Apache is open source and most widely used.
Got it. ISA proprietary, Apache open source. So we know what the server is. Now we need to know how to actually speak its language. Let's flip to slide 3.
Okay, this is the conversation. This slide covers HTTP requests. Think of this as the basic vocabulary of the web. Every single time you click a link or submit a form, your browser is shouting one of these commands at the server.
Most of these look pretty standard. We have GAT. That's just basically saying, hey, give me this web page.
Right. GT retrieves information. It's simple. But let's look a little closer at POT. The slide mentions something very specific about HTML forms here.
Yeah, the definition says it sends data to the server.
Right. Imagine GAT is like asking someone to hand you a flyer. POT is more like sliding a sealed envelope through a mail slot. You're actively sending data to the server.
So for the exam,
remember that POT is specifically used to send data to the server using HTML forms.
Okay, so when I'm logging into my email account or filling out a contact us box on a website and I hit submit.
Your browser is firing off a PST request.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about head? That one sounds sort of incomplete.
It is incomplete by design. The head command asks for the object, but it only transfers the status line and the header section. It does not send the body of the page.
Why would I want the header but not the actual page content? That seems useless.
It's all about efficiency. Imagine you want to know if a massive, say, 5 gigabyte video file has been updated since yesterday. You really don't want to download the whole 5 gigabytes just to check the date stamp.
Right. That would take forever.
Exactly. So you send a head request. It's basically like reading the subject line of an email without actually opening the giant attachment.
That is super clever. Okay, now looking at the bottom of the slide, there's a massive red warning icon next to trace.
Yes, please circle this one in your notes right now. Put a big star next to it. Trace.
The slide definition says it performs a loopback test. That is the absolute magic phrase for the certification, loopback test.
Can we unpack that a little? What does a loopback test actually look like in practice?
Think of it like doing a sound check on a microphone. You shout hello at the server, and the server just shouts hello right back at you. It repeats exactly what you sent it.
Okay, that sounds pretty harmless. Why is there a giant red warning icon?
Because of a vulnerability called cross-site tracing. If a clever attacker can trick your browser into sending a trace request that happens to include your secret cookies or login credentials, the server just bounces those secrets right back.
Oh.
Yeah, and the attacker can just grab them right off the reflection.
So it's basically a mirror that reflects things you really didn't mean to show anyone.
That's exactly what it is. Attackers absolutely love it. So for the test, remember, trace equals loopback test.
Okay, so we talk to the server, and then the server has to talk back. Next up, slide 4.
This is the response. HTTP status codes. You honestly see these every single day, even if you don't fully realize it.
Well, we all definitely know the classic 404.
Right, the dreaded page not found. The 4XX codes are in that orange block there. Client errors. That's the server basically saying, hey, you made a mistake. You asked for something with bad syntax or something that just isn't here.
And the 2XX codes are the green block.
Green means go. 211. The request was received, it was understood, and it was accepted. Everyone is perfectly happy.
But I see you eyeing that yellow block in the middle of the slide, the 3XS codes.
This is the tricky middle ground that certification exams just love to test you on. 3XX codes indicate redirection.
The slide says additional action needs to be taken.
That is the formal definition you really need to memorize. Additional action needs to be taken to complete the request.
It sounds a bit bureaucratic when you phrase it like that.
It just means the file isn't here anymore. You need to go look over there. It's a forwarding address. If you move to a new house, you leave a forwarding address at the post office. That's essentially a 3XX code.
Okay, but why is a forwarding address a security topic?
Because redirection can be hijacked. If I can somehow trick a legitimate, trusted banking site into issuing a 3XX code that redirects you over to my fake militia site, I've got you.
Oh, that makes total sense. So 3XX isn't an error. and it isn't a success yet. It's a detour, and detours can be dangerous.
Exactly.
All right, moving on to slide 5, the attack surface. I really love the title of this slide. The storefront paradox.
This brings us right back to that opening castle analogy. The visual shows a glass storefront, but it has all these cracks running through it.
And the text right under it says, a web server is a publicly accessible entrance.
That is the core paradox. Think about a bank vault again. The absolute most secure way to build a vault is to weld the heavy metal door completely shut, bury it under a mountain, and tell literally no one where it is.
Super secure, sure, but totally useless if you actually want to get your money out to buy groceries.
Right. A web server is fundamentally designed to be used. You are actively encouraging users to enter and browse your stuff. You want that traffic. But that exact same open door that lets your paying customers in, well, it lets the hackers in too.
It's like a retail store on Black Friday. You want the front doors wide open, but that inherently means the shoplifters can just walk right in alongside the paying customers.
That's a great way to put it. You can't just lock the doors or your business dies. So you have to figure out how to secure an inherently open door. The slide lists the cracks in the glass. These are your common vulnerabilities, default accounts, unused services, misconfigurations, and enabled debugging features.
Honestly, those just sound like sloppy mistakes.
Because they are. Leaving a maintenance mode active or leaving a default admin account running with the password set to password, that is basically leaving the master key right under the welcome mat of your glass storefront.
So the very nature of a web server automatically makes it a prime target. Now let's look at how the bad guys actually mess with that storefront. Let's look at slide 6.
Vectors of deception and vandalism. We're shifting gears here. We're moving from bugs in the actual code to messing with the human element and messing with the brand.
Okay, first up on the slide is the trap. And there's a picture of a literal phishing hook.
Right, phishing, spelled with a PH.
We all know about phishing emails. We get them all the time. But strictly speaking, does this actually hack the web server itself?
No. And that is a really crucial distinction you need for the exam. Phishing attacks the user. It does not attack the server software. It involves faking a legitimate website to basically trick you into handing over your login info.
So the server's sitting there working perfectly fine. The code is secure. It's the user who got hacked.
Correct. The server did exactly what it was programmed to do. The user was the weak link in the chain.
Okay, and right next to it is the graffiti. It's a picture of a website covered in spray paint.
This is website defacement.
What's the real motivation here? Are they trying to steal credit card numbers with this?
Usually not, actually. The keywords you want to focus on the slide are humiliate, discredit, or annoy the victim.
It feels very personal.
Or highly political. This is the classic signature move of the hacktivist. They don't want to be stealthy at all. They want to replace your corporate homepage with a political manifesto or an embarrassing picture to just humiliate the company. It's literal digital vandalism.
Got it. So phishing is theft, while defacement is basically an ego trip or a statement. Now let's get into the actual gears of the machine, turning to slide 7.
Technical exploits. This is where we break the underlying logic of the server. Look at that diagram with the file folders.
Yeah, I see the arrow. It starts down in a user folder, goes up and out of that folder, and then points down into a restricted system folder.
That exact movement is called directory traversal.
And the command for that involves those little dots, right?
Yes. In a web server's file system, ... means go up one directory level. So the command is usually ... If a web server isn't properly configured to lock users in their own folders, an attacker can just type ... /windows/system32 and literally climb out of the public website folder and right into the core operating system files.
That is legitimately terrifying. It's like being a guest in a hotel room and suddenly realizing the door to the hidden maintenance tunnels is just left unlocked.
And you can walk right down the tunnel into the general manager's office. Precisely. Now, the slide also lists DAS, which is denial of service, basically overwhelming the server to cause a crash, and XSS, cross-site scripting, which exploits scripting defects in the browser. But for the visual learners out there, lock in on that directory traversal arrow climbing out of the root folder.
Okay. Now, sometimes you don't even need a fancy technical exploit. Sometimes the protocol you're using is just completely broken out of the box. Check out slide 8. We're looking at what looks like a screenshot of packet capture from Wireshark, and there's a brightly highlighted line right in the middle. Request, passSP at sword.
You can read it perfectly, right?
Yeah, I can read the password as clear as day. It literally just says password.
That is the fatal flaw of FTP, which stands for File Transfer Protocol. It sends absolutely everything, including your super secret password, in completely clear text.
So if I'm sitting at a coffee shop using their public Wi-Fi network,
And you use standard FTP to upload a file to your web server, literally anyone with a basic sniffer tool sitting at the table next to you can pluck your password right out of the thin air.
so this makes it highly vulnerable to...
Man-in-the-middle attacks,
hmm
MITM. The attacker just sits quietly in the middle and reads all your mail as it goes by. The recommendation here, stop using FTP entirely. Use SFTP, encrypted. Friends really don't let friends use clear text FTP.
Clear text passwords in 2026. Just say no. Okay, so we understand the tools and the vulnerabilities. How do the attackers actually organize their attack? Moving on to slide 9.
This is the hacking methodology. It flows left to right across the screen. You start with info gathering, then you move to footprinting, and then enumeration. You are fundamentally learning about your target.
But there is a huge orange arrow pointing to one specific step right in the middle. Mirroring.
This is a really clever and very common technique. Mirroring is when the attacker downloads the entire target website to their own local machine. They create a perfect duplicate site, which we call a web server sandbox.
Why go to all that trouble, though? Why not just attack the live site directly?
Think about it from a criminal perspective. If you want to rob a highly secure bank, do you just walk right into the lobby and start drilling into the safe while the armed guards are standing there watching you?
No, obviously not. The alarms would go off instantly, you'd get caught.
Right. So you build a perfect replica of the bank's safe in your own garage. You mirror the site, you download the whole thing to your offline laptop. Now you can hammer away at it all day, test all your exploits, and find the weak spots completely safely without ever alerting the real target's security systems.
That makes total sense. You practice the heist on a replica before you go rob the real vault.
Exactly. It allows for critical hands-on experience and safe practice. The slide lists follow-up steps like vulnerability scanning, session hijacking, and hacking passwords. But mirroring is the real spotlight step here.
Okay, let's open up the bad guy's toolbox. Let's open the toolkit on slide 10.
The arsenal. We have a few really famous names listed here. You've got Metasploit, which is the massive framework for automated exploits across various platforms. Wayfetch, which targets ASP and creates HTTP requests.
And TCH Hydra, the multi-headed snake for multi-protocol password cracking.
But look at the real heavy hitter up in the top left corner, Brutus.
Brutus! It even sounds aggressive, like a blunt instrument.
It really is. Brutus is a password cracking tool, but its specific claim to fame for your exam is its speed and sheer volume. It's famous for being able to make over 50 simultaneous target connections.
50 at once.
Yeah. Imagine you're trying to force open a locked door. Most people try one key, see if it works, then try the next key. Brutus is like having 50 separate arms trying 50 different keys in 50 different locks, all at the exact same split second.
That is a lot of noise. It's definitely not a subtle approach.
It isn't subtle at all, but it's devastatingly effective against weak or unmonitored systems. So remember that specific number, 50 simultaneous connections. That is Brutus.
Okay, but the good guys have tools too, right? I mean, we have to test our own systems to find these flaws first. Next is slide 11.
Penetration testing tools. And there is one primary tool just dominating the center of this slide, Core Impact Pro.
The list of bullet points underneath it is huge. Web apps, network systems,
Yeah.
wireless.
It basically lists everything.
Yeah.
And that is exactly the point. Core Impact Pro is the comprehensive tool. It checks for vulnerabilities in web applications, network systems, wireless networks, mobile devices, and your defense systems like your IDS and IPS.
So it's basically the Swiss Army knife of pen testing.
It really is. If you get a multiple choice question asking for a tool that does all of those things together, mobile, web, network, and ID's Core Impact Pro is going to be your answer. There are secondary tools listed like Immunity Canvas for exploit development and Arachne for web app scanning. But Core is the star.
Okay, so we've attacked the server, we've mirrored it in our garage, we've cracked the passwords with Brutus. Now, how do we actually stop it? How do we fix the cracks in the glass storefront? Moving to slide 12.
This is the hardening checklist. There are a few important items here, like removing inactive or default accounts, which is account hygiene, and disabling directory listings to do some file cleanup and reduce your overall attack surface.
But the very first one on the list has a massive check mark next to it, patches and updates.
It literally cannot be overstated. Applying patches and updates is the single most critical, effective step you can take to defend a server.
And specifically, what do they actually do, according to the exam?
They are implemented to fix known vulnerabilities, eliminate bugs, and improve performance.
Fix known vulnerabilities. That's the key phrase, right?
Yes. When a vulnerability is discovered out in the wild, the vendor releases a software patch. If you don't apply that patch, you are deliberately leaving the door wide open for an exploit that literally everyone on the internet already knows about. It's like leaving your front door unlocked after the lock manufacturer announced on the nightly news that the lock is completely broken.
So patch your systems, people. It feels like digital chores, but it literally saves your life. Now, sometimes you need some extra help watching the door. Let's look at slide 13.
Security software. We have some standard scanners here, like MBSA, which is the Microsoft Baseline Security Analyzer, and SignHut Dynamic and Wikto for Windows servers, but I really want to focus on the one with the eye icon floating in the cloud. HackAlert.
HackAlert, what makes this one so special?
HackAlert is a very specific type of tool. It isn't just looking for bad code on your server backend. It's looking for what the user actually sees. HackAlert is a cloud-based service specifically designed to detect hidden malware in websites and advertisements.
Hidden malware.
Yes. Sometimes hackers don't want to deface your site and brag about it. They want to quietly infest it. They hide malicious code inside your advertising banners so that when your innocent customers visit your shop, they get infected.
Oh, that's a drive-by download?
Exactly. HackAlert actively scans for that invisible, nasty stuff to protect your visitors. So the association to remember is HackAlert equals hidden malware.
Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. We are coming right up on the end of the deck, so let's do a rapid-fire review to really lock this info in for the student's exam.
I love these. Let's do it.
Almost done. Let's recap on slide 14. I see the 2 columns here. I'm going to give you the term, and you give me the specific exam keyword association.
I am ready.
Hit me. First one. Trace.
Loopback test.
Yep.
Sending data,
Yes.
specifically using HTML forms.
3XS code.
Redirection. Additional action is needed.
Web server.
A public entrance. Users are actively encouraged to enter. Microsoft.
Proprietary.
Closed source.
Apache.
Open source.
Yeah.
And the most widely used, web server sandbox. Gaining hands-on experience.
Brutus.
Password cracker. 50-plus simultaneous connections.
Phishing.
Attacks the user, not the server software. Tricking them with a fake, legitimate site.
Deface.
Digital vandalism.
Right.
The goal is to humiliate, discredit, or annoy.
FTP.
Clear text passwords. Highly vulnerable to man-in-the-middle.
Core Impact Pro.
The big comprehensive one. Web, network, mobile, and IDS testing.
Patches.
Implemented to fix known vulnerabilities and bugs.
And finally, HackAlert.
Cloud service that detects hidden malware.
Boom. If you guys listening can nail those associations, you are in fantastic shape for this quiz.
Absolutely, those are the absolute core concepts of the unit.
And finally, slide 15.
We see our server, but now it's sitting safely inside a glowing green cube. Secure the entrance.
You know, it is genuinely scary how fragile these servers can be if you just leave the default settings turned on. One missed patch, one clear text password floating over the Wi-Fi, and it's basically game over.
It is. But that is exactly why we study this stuff. You have to deeply understand the attack, the clear text FTP, the directory traversal, the actual logic of the hacker, because that is the only way you can build a defense that actually works in the real world. You simply can't defend against what you don't understand.
Very well said. But before we wrap up today, you had one last thought for us, a provocative question to leave the students with.
I do. We spent this entire deep dive talking about hardening software, patching bugs, and setting up firewalls. We spent a lot of time on Icy and Apache.
Right, the technical side.
But remember the phishing attack from slide 6? That didn't touch the server software at all. It hacked the human being sitting at the keyboard.
That really is the scary part.
So here is the question to mull over as you go back to studying. We have all these automated tools to patch Icy and Apache, but social engineering targets the human administrator. So how do you patch a human being?
Wow. That really is the ultimate security challenge, isn't it? There's just no firmware update for common sense or human error. Well, thank you all for joining us on this deep dive. Good luck on that certification exam. You are absolutely going to crush it.
You've got this. Take a breath and trust your prep.
See you next time.